Hi folks, I'm Father Joe Grimaldi. You can call me Joe, and I'd like to welcome you to my podcast. But now, here's our host and friend, Ken Calvert.
Hi everybody, I'm Ken Calvert alongside Father Joe Grimaldi, and we would like to welcome you to our Easter podcast. Happy Easter everybody, and welcome to the program. I'm Ken Calvert along with Father Joe Grimaldi. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to everyone.
The Father Joe podcast is proudly supported by Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln, 12 Mile and Telegraph in Southfield. The Spring Savings Sales event is going on now at Star Lincoln, and that means additional savings on every Lincoln in stock. Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln, they treasure your time. Whether you crave a new Lincoln MKC, Lincoln MKX, the classic Lincoln Navigator, or the awesome Lincoln Nautilus, get the Star treatment. Give them a call, drop on by, and you'll see why. They've been in business for decades. In a hurry, shop online, starlincoln.com. Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln, 12 Mile and Telegraph in Southfield, home of the Star treatment. You and I were just having a great chat. You've had a very busy week.
Yes.
Yeah. You've been presiding. I like that word. That's a good word, yeah. I presided over my own program for about 45 years on the radio.
You certainly did.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Calvert, presiding here on 94.7 WCSX, and it's always a pleasure to preside with you. Am I technically co-presiding right now on the podcast?
Oh, you're always presiding.
No,
yes, you are.
No, I'm the assistant.
Don't give me that.
I'm the assistant presider. Okay, Easter Sunday.
Yes.
You have said to me on so many different occasions that I wish I had a nickel every time you said it. People want to think about Christmas as the most important celebration of the year. It's not, Ken. It's not. I know that. I think most everybody knows that. But it's Easter.
Yes.
And so I'm going to let you explain to me, number one, why is Easter so important? I know Christmas is big, but why is Easter our biggest day of the year?
I'm just going to say one word, salvation. It was Easter, the Triduum, which means 3 days, the suffering, death, and rising of Jesus Christ. The Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if you want, together make up what we call the Triduum, which means the salvation of mankind. Jesus Christ suffered and died for us and rose again. He was both God and man, and so now you and I have a chance of rising from the dead because of what Jesus did. It was the build-up for Easter, of course, is what we're experiencing this week, is Holy Week. It's interesting how we learn a lot about the way God works with his people on earth. You know, yesterday's gospel was interesting to me, where you have so many different characters acting out their way of life, and we learn a lot from that. You have Peter. He's like the bull in the china shop. He says, hey, no way will I ever betray you. Yep. No way will I deny you. And, of course, we know what happened. Then you have Judas, who betrays Jesus with a kiss, which is the height of friendship, and that's how he betrays Jesus. You have John constantly asking questions during that gospel. And then you wonder what's going on. God works his plan of salvation not only with the saints, but also with those who are not saints, like Judas. Everyone had a part to play in that role of salvation leading up to Easter Sunday. You and I, as human beings, we experience the high points of different religious events in our lives. You mentioned Christmas, the incarnation of Jesus Christ earlier. Yes, it's a very important feast. It's a feast that foreshadows the death and resurrection of Jesus, but it brings Jesus to this earth. And there's a lot of beautiful celebrations, the Christmas carols, the warm feelings, the trees, and all of these other things. You know, it really gives us a lot. You have the Epiphany, and you go on and you have Holy Week and the resurrection, and All of these are big events that mean something to us that lead up to salvation. But then there's natural events in our lives that also mean something to us. You take, for example, the birth of a child, a miracle, really. You take, for example, the marriage of two people that love each other, a very important thing that happens among humans. You take, for example, the sadness of a death that occurs in a family. All of these different things, they have to, in some way or other, shape our lives as we go through them. But then it's the natural, everyday, what we might consider nothing events are always shaping our lives as well. Just getting up in the morning is a miracle, and we forget that. We forget that the sun shines. We count on it. The next day, the sun is going to make things light again. That's a miracle. And of course, you go through the day when Jesus speaks to us in ways that we don't even know. And how do we react to that? Is when we're open to the Spirit. And when we're open to the Spirit, we are affected by these things, and they will bring us through. I think that one of the things that's important is that we all have to be open to the Spirit. We have to listen, try to find out, what does the Lord want me to do? Because each one of us plays a very important role in this history of salvation, this plan of salvation. We may not even see the importance of it, but yet it has an effect. Look back 20 years ago, something happened in your life. At the time, we were devastated by it or surprised by it, and yet today we say, well, it was because of this, and that it occurred.
That's right.
Because that's the way things have worked out. There was a meaning to that. We didn't know it at the time. We know it later. And I think that's true of anything that we experience. Eventually, we will know why these things happened and what the results were and how they affected our lives. So this Holy Week, in any way that we react to it, brings us to this great celebration of Easter. Oh, Easter doesn't have Christmas trees and lights and all of that, but it certainly has a very substantial celebration in store for us, because it does mean that Jesus Christ suffered and died for us, and we are saved.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I think it's important then, given that we are so distracted around Christmas.
Well, there's a lot of fanfare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
It's beautiful, but it is overwhelming.
It's beautiful indeed. And it's great eye candy, if, like you said, when you go to the malls.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you have to realize that you are assisting your fellow man in terms of retail. Retail benefits everyone.
Sure.
But this week is different. This week is a week that you ponder virtually every day. You're giving a heavy lift to some powerful thought. It's almost broken into day parts.
I think one of the things I'd like to recommend is on Good Friday, which is a day of quiet reflection, a time when people do stop into the church, at least for a quick prayer. If you do have the time, it would be a good time to read maybe chapters 13 to 17 of John's Gospel, because that's the last will and testament of Jesus Christ, what he foresaw for us to be in the future, in the church that he established. And so by reading those chapters, it's not a long passage, but by reading those chapters, we get a better understanding. It's a good way to use those readings for meditation, and it's a good day to do it on Good Friday, because that's the time when we're supposed to take time out and do a little bit of meditation.
It basically says what?
Love. That's it.
It's all about love.
Love one another. It's very simple, but not easy to do.
It's not.
As the world is in a mess, that's what he wants us to accomplish. Love one another. Accept one another. Treat one another like you want to be treated. Simple. There's nothing difficult about these things, but somehow we have a hard time doing it. And it's a real difficult situation.
Do you suggest to people that they have some sort of a mission that they put forth on themselves? In other words, like the Pope will have an Easter message, go forth and do this. Do you suggest, or do you do that, or is that the right place, the right event, the right day in the church to say, think about this and try and do better at it?
Yeah, well, you and I, when we were baptized, we
Yeah.
were given a mission by God. That mission kind of slowly evolves and shows itself as we go on with life. That mission, of course, involves loving your neighbor, loving people like you would love to be loved if you want, like you want to be loved. Again, the message is not a difficult one. It's not a matter of going out and, building houses or whatever the case might be. But it's you carry it out in whatever way you see yourself doing it. Mm-hmm. We all have our own way of carrying out our mission. But we were given a mission at baptism. And it's our lifetime that we try to carry it out. So I'm not sure if I understood clearly what you were saying.
Because I think about sooner than later, probably before even some of the services take place here in the United States, the Pope's message to the 350,000 people that were in attendance, he said this, and it's usually something that is basically, it's an addendum to what we should be doing all the time. Do you follow that?
Oh, yeah. So maybe he tries to state intensely what we're supposed to be doing in our lives.
Right. When we look back, when we're looking in the rearview mirror, now let's look forward. And he usually has a topic. He will concentrate on something and put forth that message. So a message within the overall message. And I'm wondering if you have a message inside your overall message on Easter Sunday today.
Well, I would say this, that one of the things I try to let people realize that during Lent, maybe some of us have given up things. Some people have stopped sinning. Some people have fasted. Some people have given more than they want to in whatever way they can. There are so many different ways that they've established their Lenten duties. And yet, we know that there are some people that have done nothing. But the beautiful thing about Easter is this. Whether you have done a lot or whether you haven't done anything, Jesus Christ has come to our aid. He has brought salvation to our lives. And this is something that we have to be grateful for during this time of the year as we celebrate our own salvation. Now, it's a free gift that Jesus gives us, and we should appreciate that gift as much as we can. Since it is a free gift, it's not something that we earn. It's something that has been given to us because he suffered, died, and rose from the dead, and so he's broken the chains of sin, the chains of hell, and so that we all have the opportunity of entering into paradise.
On a very light side, I have a couple of around the horn here questions for you. On the lighter side, it's also a fun mass to attend and for you to be able to, like I said, I've always been so jealous of your vantage point. You get to look out at us. You get to see all the Easter bonnets with all their frills upon it. But we do get to see the Easter parade of the kids. Right. And the kids are all dressed up. They're usually, nope, today you are dressing up, young man, or no, young lady, you are dressing up. It's Easter Sunday, okay? So that's got to be nice to look out at.
Oh, sure.
And naturally the crowds they better be a little bigger on Easter Sunday. A couple of other things. Moving forward, where do we go? Liturgically, what are we doing next?
The Feast of Easter goes on. It continues. So that we celebrate Easter particularly in a very strong way for the whole octave, which is another 8 days. So every day we will have the Gloria during the Mass to continue the celebration of Easter. But then, of course, we look towards the Feast of the Ascension, then the Feast of Pentecost, where things do come to a close. So we have 50 days until Pentecost, which ends the Feast of Easter, if you want.
I think you've done a beautiful job. Our work here is basically done. I do have a question.
Sure.
I have a hypothetical question for you. I don't know if you can give me a direct answer. I don't even know how to ask the question. When I think about Judas and what he did, was there ever any salvation offered in any way to Judas? I was always wondering your thoughts about that. Where is Judas right now? Is Judas in heaven or is Judas in hell?
I think most people might agree that he's in hell. He did the unthinkable, if you want. Although no one can really have the final say except God. Did he regret what he did? I don't know. He certainly suffered about it because he took his own life. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? So there are questions. I don't think it's such a final answer that we can give because, let's face it, I'm not God, you're not God. Yeah. So we can't give a final answer. We don't know. The only one that we can really be sure about who is in heaven at the present time is the good thief. Because Jesus said to him directly, "This day you shall be in paradise with me." So that's the only sure thing that we have in our history.
I am going to say this as we wrap it up. That, to me, that line hit me harder as a kid than any other line when he said, basically, hey, later today, you're going to be with me.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going together.
That's great.
Nicely played, my friend, nicely played. And now let's go enjoy salvation.
Exactly.
As a young man, I really appreciated that. And to this day, I love it. To this day.
It's a beautiful,
beautiful moment
sure,
in the liturgy. So thank you. Happy Easter, sir.
I wish everyone a happy Easter. Thank you.
Enjoy you in the whites today. That's nice.
Yes.
He completely dressed for the event.
That's right.
Took him right off the altar, I did. Took him right off the altar.
White and gold.
Yeah. And you even brought your staff with you.
Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Ken Calvert. Thank you for joining us, everybody, along with Father Joe Grimaldi. We look forward to seeing you next week on the Father Joe Podcast. I'm Ken Calvert. So long.
See you soon. This is Father Joe Grimaldi, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Father Joe Podcast.
If you'd like, you can email us. It's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. That's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. Simply search Father Joe Grimaldi. And thanks for listening, everyone.